Hi there. Come on in. I'm Fred Trost, and I have good news for you sportsmen. If you enjoy hunting, why, some of the seasons are already open for small game. We have some good populations around the state, a great season coming up. And if you're an angler, well, a lot of you have put your rods away and getting ready for hunting season, but take a look at the action off Harrisville. We have a salmon leaping out of the water. That fish jumped about 8 times. We're going to bring you a story on salmon fishing. It's great this time of year, so you stay tuned. It's Thursday night, time for Michigan Outdoors.
From the rugged shore and woodlands of the north, its history of copper mines and iron ore, the Great Lakes fisheries. To the farmlands of the southern counties we'll look around again, at all that waits the sportsman in the state of Michigan. And sometimes when the moon brings out the diamonds in the snow, and the stillness of the forest lies encased in Arctic cold, the wind might whisper through the trees, listen if you can, it tells you of the beauty in this state of Michigan.
Hey, we got an angler here who's...
I watched you last night on Channel 19.
Oh, yeah? Well, good. Thank you. How come you were not fishing?
Oh, I just got back from fishing. I waited till about 9:15 when we got back to cabin there, and we caught you at 9:30 on Channel 19 there.
Good. Hey, hold these up here.
Okay.
What in the heck do you have here? You got 2 Chinook. You fish Tawas River a lot?
Yeah, I come up here quite a bit. And I've done pretty well here. And
Why do you stop here with all the other places to fish?
Well, I go different places, but I do an awful lot right here.
Mm-hmm. Well, it doesn't seem too crowded right now.
No, right. They're kind of tapered off right now, too.
But hey, that turned out real well.
But they done, I was over to, on the other shore there, you know, by Harbor Beach, and they was getting them on that there green and silver and the glow in the dark here, too.
So you fish all over the thumb.
Well, yeah, right. Yeah, I like to try to, but I got a cabin right out here, and this is where I do most of it all, right here.
Is there much monkey business going on down here, you know? I mean, force feeding them, if you know what I mean?
Not that I've seen so far, you know.
Snagging hasn't been?
No, I haven't seen no snagging yet.
We don't do much snagging in the Trost River. They pretty well.
Oh, come on over here, Gary. So they don't? The snagging isn't?
No, it's not heavy in Tawas. For some reason, we have more of the spoon fishermen and spawn fishermen here. I don't know what makes that, but that's why a lot of these guys come here, because they don't like snagging at all.
To me, I'm no snagger. I like to, either the fish outsmart me or else I try to outsmart them.
Well, you do pretty well.
Yeah, if I can even get one, I feel pretty good, you know.
Yeah, well, I bet. What is your name?
Herb Harris from Flint should feel pretty good. Those are nice salmon. And it's good news from Gary Collier that anglers on the east side are finding that salmon do hit lures, they do hit bait. If they didn't, how could the boat fishermen catch them within 100 yards of the river mouths? This is undoubtedly the most beautiful time of the year to be on a river or a stream or a lake with a fishing rod. The air is crisp, the weather is clear, and the fish are active. And at Tawas, you'll find fishing activity on the river by Collier's Marina, not just for salmon, but the perch are in at this time too. And the big advantage of Tawas is the protection in the bay. Small boats can get out there and fish it just about every day of the year. Now, moving up the coast to Harrisville Harbor, you'll find lots of anglers. Some of them have a tendency to twitch the rod now and then. Watch that guy in the dock there. He just gave it a yank. That little attempt is there to snag. Whoops, he did it again. Now, he'd tell a conservation officer he was just trying to add a little action to the lure. But most of the fishermen at Harrisville are tight lining. It's a sort of a snagging technique that's legal because it catches salmon in the mouth. And in the harbor, the salmon are porpoising. Did you see that fish there break the surface? Here's another. Watch the middle of your screen. There he goes. And still another one breaks the surface, all within 10 seconds. Watch the water at the far upper right. Did you see that fish jump clear out of the water? He's going to do it again, far upper right. All right, underneath the boat, just jumping for fun. But these 2 fellas in the boat, there to the left, have one on that's trying to get away. There it goes. That jump was the only one we got on tape, but I saw it leap out of the water 8 times before we could get the camera rolling. 2 feet out of the water each time. That's exciting. Now, salmon occasionally jump like that when they're out on the lake, especially cohos. They'll come out of the water, but big kings will jump when they're in shallow water, like in this harbor. They can't dive down, so they take to the air, trying to shake the hook. Makes a thrill of a lifetime when you're at the other end of the rod. Now, watching these 2 fellows battle a 25-pound Chinook is a thrill for everybody. In fact, it's almost nerve-wracking. What we're seeing here is two very excited fishermen, both of them tense, nervous, worrying about losing this monster, and they come mighty close. The fellow on the net there, he's a bit timid, and his short jabs at the salmon really run the risk of getting the lures or the hooks caught in the net and pulling them right out of the salmon's mouth. And the guy on the rod, well, look, he has a mighty short lead, only a few feet between his rod tip to the fish. Now watch the water here. We have a salmon porpoising. Now back to the boat here. I don't want to take anything away from these fellows because they've accomplished a lot just by hooking and battling a big king, but I'm getting a little worried now. Every netting attempt just like that is a potentially lost prize. And that short length of line between the angler and the fish, not much cushion if that fish decides to take a big run. Plus the fact it puts a lot of vertical pressure on the fish and could pull the hook out easier than if the fish had a little less pressure. All the anglers are watching from shore. The fish continue to porpoise all around. Will they land this salmon or lose it? Let's watch. Well, let's give them a round of applause. They did it, and you can bet they're proud. They should be. One enjoyable aspect of shore fishing or pier fishing is watching the other fishermen near you battle and land fish. If you're not having action yourself, somebody is, and that's a real boost to everyone's hope and confidence. Under the US 23 bridge at Oscoda, you'll see a number of charter boats pass through. This one, the 37-foot TMB-2, skippered by Captain Steve Pazlaski. Oscoda is attracting more and more big boats, charters, and pleasure craft because it's a beautiful setting. That's the mouth of the famed Oscoda River spilling into Lake Huron. Full of fish, salmon, trout, big channel cats, and walleyes like this fella here is netting from the pier. But on a rough day, as this one was, you'll find out what kind of character Steve Pazlaski is.
Well, it's all right. She's going to be all right. It's going to be rough going out the jetty here, but once we get past this mouth here, we'll be all right.
Is the fishing going to be any good? I mean, how can it be?
Well, all we can do is pray that we can catch some fish today. If we don't catch fish today, you people haven't prayed hard enough.
Really, seriously, is it worth it to go out in this?
I think so. We were out this morning and we picked up 3 of them real fast. We had 7 fish on. As a matter of fact, we had a triple. Boarded 2 of them. And we're only going about 2 hours.
Sometimes this rough weather can scatter the salmon, sometimes it doesn't. But waves like this always scatter the boats. With the 37-foot TMB-2, it's no problem, and the river mouth is always the roughest part of the lake. Now, see that dark water? The line between Lake Huron water and the muddier Oscoda River water. That's where Mike Pazlaski is setting our lines. Steve wants us to fish the edge of this warm river water that attracts the salmon's homing instincts. Now, you can see that it really wasn't so rough out on the lake, and it didn't take long before we hooked a salmon. In the rougher water, it doesn't take much time for a salmon to cross the lines. I picked up a plug from another line, but unfortunately, it didn't get tangled. After a 6 or 8 minute battle, we had him at the back of the boat. Well, that's a nice fish. A bit darker than it would have been if we caught it a few weeks ago. But the fish is full of fight, the flesh is still very firm, and it tastes as good on the grill as you'd want. It hit a spoon with a single hook and was hooked solidly. Single hooks have a big advantage of not being as easy for a fish to throw. If they're hooked well, you've got them. We had this one. This is the kind of fishing you'll find on the east side from Au Gres all the way up the coast to Alpena and Rogers City. Good action from charter boats, small boats, breakwalls, or the shore. A great way to spend a September day in Michigan outdoors. The east side, Harrisville, Oscoda, Tawas, this is where the fishing generally stays a week or so later than it does on the west side. The salmon probably are going to be the most active. I think it works. But let's take a look at some of the fish that have been caught recently in tonight's trophy book. The opening page of our trophy book features a channel catfish taken a year ago this weekend, one of 5 master angler channel cats taken in September and October last year, which equals the number of master angler Chinook salmon taken during the same period in 1984. Channel cat's a popular fish. This one weighs 11 pounds 10 ounces. It's 31 inches long, caught on a night crawler in Mott Lake by Theodis Williams of Flint. Here's a more typical size master angler channel cat, 10 ounces above the 8-pound minimum. It was 28 inches long, caught on a minnow in the Tobacco River near Gladwin. It put William Clark from Flint in the trophy book. No master angler lake whitefish were reported last fall, although the Traverse Bay anglers I know are still taking them. This one was pulled out of the East Bay by Tom Wallach from Vassar earlier this summer. 25 inches long, it weighs 6 3/4 pounds and went for a jig fished right on the bottom. That's where you'll find the whitefish in the deep water. Now, this fish is easy to identify from its photo. Notice the distinct separation between the white underside and the dark scales on top. Very pronounced. I see that on most of the steelhead pulled from the Great Lakes. Looks pretty heavy, but Adrian Kennedy from Indianapolis, Indiana holds all 18 pounds for the camera. It hit a red and chrome rattlesnake at noon off Allegan County in July. Wonder where those master angler steelhead are in the fall, though. We get very few reported. A quick look at a 1 3/4 pound, 15-inch perch caught by Willard Huizinga from Granville, who was fishing a night crawler in Lake Gogebic up in the UP in August. What a lake for big perch, and that will continue through the winter. And although the season's closed now in Lakes Michigan and Huron for lake trout, we're going to close the trophy book for now with this 39-inch, 18-pound, 14-ounce laker that hit a flutterchuck off the tip of the thumb in late July. Now, since both of their names were on the Master Angler form, I'll assume this was a team effort and name both Dan Swartz and his son Jim from Utica as our Michigan Outdoors Master Anglers of the Week.
Progress in the courts on the dove issue, well, it's just at a snail's pace right now. In fact, the dove season was supposed to start September 15th. Judge Coleman isn't even accepting briefs, or his cutoff date for briefs on the issue isn't even until tomorrow, September 20th. Don't expect any sort of a dove season this year. It's all, for all intents and purposes, over at this point. And
Now's the time that everybody's thinking about deer hunting, Bob, including me, you, and our viewers.
And I haven't got my permit in yet, application.
We'll get that taken care of.
Next couple days. We get some letters here, too. This one from Alan Myers of Chatham, Ontario. He writes, Fred, I'm interested in bow hunting for white-tailed deer. Could you suggest a publication outlining deer behavior that would help me?
Well, Alan, our own Outdoor Digest isn't too bad, and we have some excerpts in here on this month's issue, The Myth of the Waiting Game by Dr. Rob Wagner of Deer and Deer Hunting Magazine, who says you should not wait at all before pursuing a deer after you hit it. Big Game, this one is on Antlers by Leonard Lee Rue. We have excerpts here, Muzzle Loading by Rick Hacker, Making Sense of Scents by Clark Lincoln. A lot of good articles here in the digest, plus our trophy book, but this information I have gotten from the article by Rob Wagner from Deer and Deer Hunting Magazine. This is available on the newsstand. I subscribe to it. I suggest getting a subscription or picking these up on the newsstand. Some excellent information for deer behavior. You Can't Beat the Deer of North America by Leonard Lee Rue. He's the top photojournalist, wildlife photojournalist in the country, and it's packed with information on deer biology. These are the books that I use and that I would recommend that you get.
Another question, too, from Dolores Horetsky from Warren, Fred. She says, my husband would like to know if the muscle you use for push-ups would help for drawing his bow.
Not really, Dolores. When you draw a bow, you're pulling back. You're pulling with your arms like this and using your back muscles. Phil Grable, a noted archer, PAA tournament winner, many national championships. Phil says you want to do pull-ups like this, where your hands grasp the bar like that and pull yourself up your chin over the bar. Don't do chin-ups like this, because that develops the wrong muscles. So pull-ups do the best job for your biceps and especially your back muscles. Also rope climbing, if you can do that. And swimming is another good activity for bow hunters. So those are suggestions, quick early season suggestions here for bow season. And now let's see if you folks can answer this week's question in our outdoor quiz.
Birds have been pursued as game when their numbers were plentiful and when they were large enough to use for food. What's the smallest game bird ever hunted in the United States? In 1874, the state of North Carolina opened a 5.5-month season on robins. Considered a game bird, robin pie was a common meal on North Carolina tables during that era.
Well, here he comes. Huh? He's not. Well, we're walking in the pen with a deer that was a pet deer that some people found, what, as a fawn last year?
Yeah, they raised him as a fawn, picked him up last summer, and then they had him through the winter.
And we've just been in here just a moment, and already this little buck deer wants to fight. Now, is he fighting or playing, or
Yeah.
just what are we doing here?
A little bit of both.
Boy, I tell you, these, just the burr. Ooh. This, I was going to do 3 minutes in here, guys. And I don't know if we're going to make it or not. This is, when we've come into this cage just a few minutes before to see how the deer would respond, and he was a lot more friendly then, but he looks like he's using his feet a little bit.
Yeah. And the other thing, Fred, you notice how when he pushes, he turns his head. He's trying to push you aside.
Uh-oh, let's see if we get a shot of this. He's coming after the cameraman.
And what I'm afraid of is he's pushing and you're pushing, he twists, and he slips by you, and one of those horns catches you just below the crotch, you know.
Yeah, you could get a bad leg injury from this. The patches on the hair. People are going to wonder about that.
Right.
This is a research station out here, and you've done something with a collar on it?
Right, he's been part of a research project. It's a remote blood sensing apparatus, and it's a saddle, and it sets on his shoulders, and what it did is it rubbed off the summer coat. You can see he's getting his winter coat underneath there.
Well, right now the cameraman is more concerned with running into this $40,000 camera. But we're trying to make the point here, folks, that this deer is nothing to mess with. This is like bullfighting. I'm trying to keep him so his tines. Now, they're somewhat in the velvet, but yeah, I don't, if you put it, it's not too comfortable any way you cut it. I'll tell you what, why don't we cut this short? Seriously, this is a pet deer. It was a pet deer, and in the fall, it takes on a characteristic which we're not in the fall yet.
No, this deer's got some time to go yet. It's not even in rut. It's got another month, Tom, before it starts
Right.
into full rut?
Right.
And this is a yearling.
Yeah, you'll be a year and a half this fall.
You know what, I got to admit, I'm a bit shaken up here from the pressure. You know, you try to look kind of calm on camera.
Excuse me, I'm not going to turn my back on this fella.
Well, I guess he wants to go his own way now, but the point is that deer like this, if let go and turned loose, can create problems.
Right. Well, when we picked this deer up, a lot of the people in the neighborhood weren't very happy about us picking it up. But it was because of the concern for children and people that we picked the thing up. And you can see, he's not much of a pet, really.
No, he isn't. See what happens here. See, he could come out to... He was bothering kids
Yeah,
who
he
were
had
getting
followed some home from school. That was the report we got. He was also picked up on the highway once and taken back
Oh,
home.
look how he uses these tines and gouges with them. Now, these are fairly soft now, these tines, compared with... That's it. That's it. We're going now. Wildlife pets might look cute, but they can act mean, especially in the fall, which is why they should be left in Michigan outdoors. Golden brown fish, Kathy.
It is golden brown, too.
That looks great. In fact,
It is.
tastes great.
Yep.
We have two kinds we've cooked up here. Some of the salmon, fall salmon that, geez, anybody could catch at this time of year.
People have a lot of right now.
And walleye. In fact, what Kathy has done here is cooked up a batter, which is a beer batter.
Beer batter, right?
We have in the digest a couple different kinds, a beer batter and a vinegar batter.
Okay, we're going to go with a beer batter this time.
This is the one you prefer?
That's right.
Okay. Why don't we take a look at how you put it together, because I think everybody has their own variation. Ingredients you use?
It's flour, some salt, an egg to hold it together and
An
make
egg,
it fluffy, right? Some straw light, and baking powder, which is going to make it expand.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to mix
Put all
this
these
all
together.
That's right, just mix them all in together, just like you would a batter,
Mm-hmm.
any kind of a batter.
Now, that egg is something that a lot of people do not put in a batter when they're mixing the batter. They might dip a fish in
That's
egg.
right, but you can, this is going to give you your fluffiness, like a meringue would. Okay, it's going to really make it fluffy and light.
That beer makes it fuzz A lot.
That's right.
Fizz right up.
Okay, you're going to need some kind of a moisture anyway, unless you dipped it in something first. So we're going to make it all right here.
What'd you do with the rest of the can of beer?
I don't know if we ever accounted for that, did we?
It wasn't wasted.
It wasn't wasted. But actually, a batter like this takes quite a bit of liquid.
It does. Right, and at first you pour in quite a bit and you don't think you're going to need more, but you do. Okay, now, I
That's
like...
the consistency you
That's
like.
right. Not real thick and not real runny either. I want it to stay on the fish. I don't want it to run all off.
Now, it's not mandatory that you have it this thick if people like a thinner coating.
Well, no, not really.
Put the baking soda in,
Mm-hmm.
which adds just a little last-minute fizz.
That's going to add some expansion, too, to your
Now,
batter.
that walleye right there, you could put in butter for me.
Oh, sure
Just
you could.
cook it right in
and
butter.
fry it just like that. Salt and pepper.
What does the breading do?
Makes it a different kind of coating. It's going to give it a brownness. It's going to keep the fish moist. It's not going to dry all out.
I think that is a main thing, that it sort of protects the fish here from the oil.
That's right.
Because it cooks the batter and leaves the fish moist. How is it, Bob?
Oh, absolutely excellent. And you know, the one thing that people don't do is they don't fry enough of their salmon like we did here. They've got plenty of salmon, and you can't eat it boiled or baked all the time. It is excellent fried.
The walleye, you can see right here, this walleye meat is extremely white. And it's excellent. It doesn't have any type of fishy taste
It doesn't.
whatsoever.
A
It does
real
pick
light
up. It picks
taste.
up a little bit of the batter. As a matter of fact, here is some salmon that was cooked the same way. You should cut the salmon fairly thin. If you have a thick fillet, cut it thin. And here's the breading on top. This beer batter, and that egg, I think, is what makes it brown.
It's going to give it some brownness.
I like it that way.
Yeah, I prefer this little simpler recipe. This is great. There's nothing wrong with it.
I thought
but
he was
I like
going to turn it down.
He was so nice.
No. This is great for people who really like fried fish. But I go even one step further, make that batter a little thinner and no egg. And that's the way, you know, that's a personal preference, but you can do it.
There are some variations, Kathy. You've written up here in the digest of vinegar batter.
Oh, it's going to make it fuzz when it hits that soda.
So all you have to do is get a hold of our new copy of the Outdoor Digest, which is in the mail to a lot of you right now. So here's how you can get a copy.
From the rugged shore and woodlands of the north, its history of copper mines and iron ore, the Great Lakes fisheries. To the farmlands of the southern counties, we'll look around again at all that waits the sportsman in the state of Michigan.